I grew up in a good family. Two parents who loved each other and loved us. A faith community that shaped how we saw the world. In a home where the rules were clear and the expectations were high. And the intentions behind all of it was genuinely good. I went to college. I had role models. And I knew right from wrong. Despite all of that, I still spent years in a relationship that took everything from me. My sense of self, what I wore, how I spent my money, and then finally the face that I saw in the mirror. So when someone tells me that this doesn't happen in good families, I need you to understand it happened in mine. There's a picture most people carry in their heads when they think about abuse, and it doesn't look anything like my family. It can look like chaos and instability, a certain kind of neighborhood or household. We've been handed this image consistently through news coverage, films, and through the way these conversations get framed. Most of us accept it without questioning. And there's truth to that. Exposure to dysfunction continues a cycle. But it's not the whole story. Not even close. Because statistics tell a different one entirely. 1 in 2 women and 2 in 5 men report experiencing intimate partner violence. Those numbers don't belong to one kind of family or one kind of background. They belong to all of us. Here's what those numbers don't show, how it actually starts. Women don't generally fall for someone who's outright abusive from the beginning. There's a honeymoon phase, warmth and attention, someone who makes you feel seen and chosen. The person who eventually controls your finances or monitors your clothing, that's not who showed up at the beginning. So when someone says, "I would never fall for that," I want to ask them gently, how would you know? How would any of us know when the beginning looks like love? The assumption that abuse only happens in broken homes isn't just inaccurate. It's a narrative that keeps women from recognizing their own experience. If I came from a good family and was educated and loved, then what's happening to me can't be what I think it is. That's the kind of thinking that keeps women trapped. Because the ability to be abused knows no economic or social lines. There's no educational threshold, no faith background or family structure or neighborhood. Abuse finds us anyway. I want to go back to my story for a moment, because I was that woman. The one the myth said shouldn't be here telling this story. I came from a home with 2 parents who loved each other. I was raised with clear values, and I went to college. I worked hard. I was the kind of woman the narrative says should have known better, should have seen it coming or left sooner. What I actually experienced was someone who showed up as exactly what I needed at a vulnerable moment in my life. He was encouraging and supportive. It was someone who told me I deserved better and helped me believe it. Then slowly, not all at once, it was never all at once, things shifted. It was control over what I wore, my finances, and the slow erosion of who I was until I no longer recognized the woman in the mirror. It didn't happen because I came from the wrong kind of family. It happened because I was human. Because I was at a point in my life where I needed to be seen, and someone saw me. because the beginning did look like love. And because by the time it didn't look like love anymore, I had already lost enough of myself that leaving felt impossible. That's not a story about a broken home. It's a story about being human. So, what does this myth actually cost the woman living inside of it? There's the cost of recognition. If abuse only happens in certain kinds of families, and she didn't come from that particular kind of family, then what's happening to her must be something else. It could be a rough patch in the relationship, or just a difficult relationship, something she's probably partly responsible for. This myth gives her a reason to not name what she's living through. There's a cost to credibility. When she does come forward to a friend or a family member, could be a professional, the response is often disbelief wrapped in concern. But you come from a good family. He seems so successful. You're smart. As if intelligence and a stable background should have been protection enough. As if their surprise is her problem to manage now. It can also cost community, because the myth doesn't just live in other people, it lives in her too. She's absorbed the same image everyone else has, which means she may spend years feeling like an outlier, that her experience doesn't quite count, and the resources and the conversations and support that exist for survivors weren't really built for someone like her. There's a cost of time, years sometimes. Years of talking herself out of her own reality because the reality doesn't match the story she was handed about who this happens to. And every year spent inside of that confusion is a year she isn't moving toward herself. Here's what I'd like you to take from this. If you came from a good family and you're sitting with something that doesn't feel quite right, that contradiction is not evidence that you're confused or dramatic or wrong. It could be evidence that the myth was never true to begin with. Your background is not a disqualifier. Neither is your education or the love you grew up with. What happened to you or is happening is real regardless of where you came from. If you've been waiting for permission to name it because the picture doesn't match, because people could be surprised, you don't need anyone's permission. You can take this as permission if you need to. You don't need to match anyone's picture. You never did. I'm Rhea. I hope you'll join me as I continue this conversation. Until next time.